Subscribe my YouTube channel, Blessed Billionaire.
Shalom, my friends. I need to tell you about a conversation I had last week that broke my heart. A young couple came to see me, Sarah and Michael. They're both 35 years old, hard-working, responsible people. They had been contributing to their Roth IRAs for the past 10 years, doing everything right, or so they thought. But when we sat down and looked at their accounts, I discovered something that made my stomach drop. They had been making a mistake, a simple, innocent mistake that was going to cost them over $70,000 in lost wealth. And the worst part? They had no idea. This is not just their story. This is the story of thousands, maybe millions of Americans who think they are investing wisely, who think they are building their future, but who are actually sabotaging themselves without even knowing it. And today, I want to make sure you never make this mistake. Because $70,000 is not just money. It's freedom. It's security. It's the difference between retiring comfortably and struggling in your golden years. But before I tell you what the mistake is, I want to tell you why it matters so much. Because this is not just about money. This is about wisdom. This is about understanding a principle that has been taught in our tradition for thousands of years. A principle that can transform not just your finances, but your entire life. Let me take you back to ancient Israel, to the temple in Jerusalem. Every year, during the harvest season, the farmers would bring their first fruits to the temple as an offering. Not their leftovers, not the fruit that was too small or too bruised to sell. Their first fruits, the best of what they had. And they would give it to God before they took anything for themselves. Why did they do this? Because they understood a profound spiritual truth. What you do with your first determines what happens with your rest. When you give your first and your best to what matters most, when you prioritize the future over the present, when you invest before you spend, you are setting in motion a pattern of blessing that will compound over time. This is the spiritual principle behind the Roth IRA. The Roth IRA is your modern-day first fruits offering. Year, they maxed out their contributions, $6,500 each, every single year. They were so proud of themselves, they thought they were doing everything right. But when I asked them, "What are you investing in?" they looked at me with confusion. "What do you mean?" Sarah asked. "We're investing in our Roth IRA." "No," I said gently, "you're contributing to your Roth IRA. But what are you investing the money in once it's in the account?" Silence. They had no idea what I was talking about. So I logged into their accounts, and there it was, 10 years of contributions, over $65,000 each, just sitting there in cash, uninvested, not growing, not compounding, just sitting there, doing nothing. Do you understand what this means? If they had invested that money in a simple index fund, something that tracks the S&P 500, and if the market had returned its historical average of 10% per year, their accounts would each be worth over $110,000 right now. But instead, they were worth $65,000. They had lost $45,000 each in potential growth. That's $90,000 combined. And if they continue to make this mistake for the next 25 years until they retire, they will lose over $500,000 in wealth. $500,000 gone because they didn't know they needed to actually invest the money. I looked at Sarah and Michael, and I could see the devastation on their faces. Sarah started crying. Michael just stared at the screen in disbelief. And I said to them, "Listen to me. This is not your fault. No one taught you this. The system is designed to be confusing. But now you know. And from this moment forward, you are never going to make this mistake again." This is the first and most critical mistake I see people making with their Roth IRAs. They contribute the money, but they don't invest it. They think that just putting money into the account is enough, but it's not. A Roth IRA is just a container. It's like tell you about David. David is 32 years old. He's been contributing to his Roth IRA for 5 years. He's done everything right. He's invested the money. His account has grown to $40,000. But last year, David wanted to buy a house. He needed $10,000 for a down payment, and someone told him, "Hey, you can withdraw up to $10,000 from your Roth IRA penalty-free for a first-time home purchase." So David did it. He withdrew $10,000 from his Roth IRA and used it to buy his house. And he thought he was being smart. He thought he was using the system to his advantage. But here is what David didn't understand. That $10,000 he withdrew was not just $10,000. It was $100,000 in future wealth. Let me explain. If David had left that $10,000 in his Roth IRA and let it grow for the next 30 years at an average return of 10% per year, it would have grown to over $174,000. But he took it out. He used it to buy a house. And yes, the house will appreciate in value. But the average home appreciation over the past decade has been about 6% per year, while the stock market has returned over 12%. David gave up $174,000 in tax-free retirement wealth for a house that will appreciate much more slowly and will require constant maintenance, property taxes, and insurance. Was it worth it? Maybe. Maybe David really needed that house. Maybe it was the right decision for his life. But I want you to understand the true cost, because most people don't. They see $10,000 and they think it's just $10,000. But it's not. It's your future. It's your freedom. It's your retirement. In the Torah, there is a story about Esau, the older brother of Jacob. Esau came home one day, exhausted and hungry from working in the fields. Jacob was cooking a pot of lentil stew, and Esau said, "Give me some of that stew, I'm starving." Jacob said, "I'll give you the Step 1. Open a Roth IRA if you don't already have one. You can do this with any major brokerage, Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab, M1 Finance. It takes about 10 minutes. Do it today. Step 2. Contribute as much as you can, up to the annual limit. For 2024, the limit is $7,000 if you're under 50 and $8,000 if you're 50 or older. If you can't max it out, that's okay. Contribute what you can. Even $100 a month is better than nothing. Step 3. Invest the money immediately. Don't let it sit in cash. Choose a simple, low-cost index fund or target date fund and invest the money the moment it hits your account. Step 4. Automate it. Set up automatic contributions from your paycheck or your bank account. This way, you never have to think about it. It just happens every month like clockwork. Step 5. Never, ever withdraw the money before retirement. Treat this account as sacred. Treat it as untouchable. This is your future. This is your freedom. Protect it. Now, let me address a few other common mistakes I see people making. Mistake number 3. Investing in a taxable brokerage account before maxing out your Roth IRA. This makes no sense from a tax perspective. In a taxable brokerage account, you pay taxes on dividends every year, and you pay capital gains tax when you sell. In a Roth IRA, you pay no taxes on growth and no taxes on withdrawals. So why would you invest in a taxable account before maxing out your Roth? Max out your Roth first. Then, if you still have money to invest, put it in a taxable account. Mistake number 4. Taking on too much risk because you want your Roth IRA to grow faster. I see people gambling on speculative stocks, on crypto, on whatever the latest trend is because they think, if it's in my Roth IRA, the gains will be tax-free, so I should take big risks to get big returns. This is foolish. This is your retirement. This is not a casino. Stick with boring, reliable, diversified index funds. Let time and compounding do the work. Mistake number 5. Every penny of it without paying a single dollar in taxes. And because he had been so disciplined, because he had prioritized his future over his present, he was able to retire early, travel the world, support his children and grandchildren, and give generously to charity. Benjamin didn't make a huge salary. He didn't get lucky with a stock pick. He didn't inherit money. He just followed the principles I've shared with you today. He contributed consistently. He invested immediately. He never withdrew the money. And he let time and compounding do the rest. This can be your story. This can be your future. But only if you commit to doing it right, starting today. So here is my challenge to you. If you don't have a Roth IRA, open one this week. If you have one but you haven't invested the money, invest it today. If you have one and you've been tempted to withdraw money, stop. Commit to leaving it alone. And if you're already doing everything right, then teach someone else. Share this message. Help someone avoid the $70,000 mistake. Remember the words of our sages. Who is rich? He who is satisfied with his portion. But I would add, who is wise? He who invests his portion and lets it grow. Shalom, my friends. May you have the wisdom to invest in your future and the discipline to let it compound. Let me address some of the questions I get most frequently about Roth IRAs, because I want to make sure you have all the information you need to use this tool correctly. Question number 1. Rabbi, what if I'm married? Can my spouse and I share a Roth IRA? No. There is no such thing as a joint Roth IRA. The I in IRA stands for individual. Each person must have their own account. But here's the good news. If you're married and you both have earned income, you can each contribute up to the annual limit. That means if you're both under 50, you can contribute $7,000 each, for a total of $14,000 per year. I'm so passionate about encouraging you to max out your Roth IRA every single year if you possibly can, because if you don't, you cannot make it up later. However, there is a small window of opportunity that most people don't know about. You actually have 16 months to contribute for each calendar year. Let me explain. If we're talking about contributions for the year 2024, you can contribute any time from January 1st, 2024, all the way until April 15th, 2025, which is when taxes are due for 2024. So if you're watching this in January or February or March of 2025, and you didn't max out your 2024 contribution, you still have time. Go do it now. Don't wait another day. Most brokerages will ask you which year you want to contribute to when you make a deposit during this overlap period. Make sure you specify the correct year. This is a gift, a grace period that gives you a little extra time to get your financial house in order. In the Talmud, there is a teaching, Al tomar maharasita. Do not say, tomorrow I will do it, because tomorrow becomes next week becomes next month, and before you know it, the year has passed and the opportunity is gone. If you have the money to contribute to your Roth IRA, do it today. Not tomorrow, today. Question number 3. Rabbi, I heard that I can withdraw my contributions from a Roth IRA at any time without penalty. Is that true? Yes, it's true. But just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Let me be very clear about this. Withdrawing your contributions from your Roth IRA before retirement is one of the dumbest, most short-sighted, most financially irresponsible things you can do. Here's how it works. Let's say you've contributed $30,000 to your Roth IRA over the years, and your account has grown to $50,000. The $30,000 you contributed is called your basis, and you can withdraw that at any time without penalty or taxes. But the $20,000 of growth, you cannot touch that until you're 59 and a half without paying a penalty. So technically, yes, you have access to your contributions, but here's what you need to Torah. Joseph, when he was the viceroy of Egypt, stored up grain during the 7 years of plenty, so that when the 7 years of famine came, the people would not starve. He prepared. He planned ahead. He didn't wait until the crisis hit to figure out what to do. This is the wisdom of the emergency fund. This is the wisdom of planning for the unexpected, so that when it comes, you don't have to destroy your future to survive the present. Question number 4. What should I invest in once the money is in my Roth IRA? This is the most important question, and it's the one that Sarah and Michael got wrong for 10 years. Once your money is in the Roth IRA, you need to invest it. And for most people, the answer is simple. Low-cost index funds. An index fund is a fund that tracks a market index, like the S&P 500, which represents the 500 largest companies in America. When you invest in an S&P 500 index fund, you are essentially buying a tiny piece of Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Tesla, and 495 other companies. You are diversifying your risk across the entire American economy. And historically, the S&P 500 has returned about 10% per year on average over the long term. I personally recommend a 2-fund portfolio for people who are in the accumulation phase of their lives, which means you're still working and building wealth. The 2 funds are 80% in a total stock market index fund and 20% in a total international stock market index fund. This gives you exposure to both American and international companies, and it's simple, diversified, and low cost. As you get closer to retirement, you can transition to a 3-fund portfolio, which adds bonds to reduce volatility and protect your wealth. But when you're young, when you have decades until retirement, you want to be aggressive. You want to be in stocks, because stocks, over the long term, provide the highest returns. And please, I'm begging you, do not try to pick individual stocks. Brokerages can complete the conversion in just a few days. I've done it myself, and it was easy. But make sure you do your research or talk to a financial advisor to make sure you're doing it correctly. because there are some nuances depending on your specific tax situation. The point is, don't assume that just because your income is too high, you can't benefit from a Roth IRA. There's almost always a way. Question number 6. Can I have multiple Roth IRAs with different brokerages? Yes, you can. You can have a Roth IRA with Vanguard, another with Fidelity, another with Schwab. There's no problem with that. You can even split your annual contribution across multiple accounts if you want. For example, you could contribute $4,000 to one account and $3,000 to another in the same year. But here's the key. You cannot exceed the annual contribution limit across all of your accounts combined. So, if the limit is $7,000, you can't contribute $7,000 to one account and $7,000 to another. The limit is per person, not per account. The brokerages don't talk to each other, so it's your responsibility to track this. And trust me, you do not want to accidentally over-contribute and have to deal with the IRS. Stay within the limits. Now, let me bring all of this together with a final teaching from our tradition. In the Talmud, there is a story about a man who plants a carob tree. Someone asks him, "Why are you planting this tree? It takes 70 years for a carob tree to bear fruit. You will never eat from this tree." And the man replies, "Just as my ancestors planted for me, I plant for my children." This is the essence of the Roth IRA. You are planting a tree that will bear fruit decades from now. You are investing in a future that you may not fully see, but that you are creating with every contribution, with every decision to invest rather than spend, with every choice to prioritize your future over your present. And here's the beautiful part. Unlike the uninvested, invest it. Right now. Don't wait. Don't overthink it. Just invest it in a simple S&P 500 index fund or a target date fund and let it start growing. These 3 actions will take you less than 30 minutes, but they will change the trajectory of your financial life. They will be the difference between struggling in retirement and thriving in retirement. They will be the difference between financial stress and financial freedom. And remember, this is not just about money. This is about wisdom. This is about discipline. This is about honoring your future self by making wise choices today. In the book of Deuteronomy, Moses tells the Israelites, "I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Choose life, that you and your descendants may live." Every financial decision you make is a choice between life and death, between blessing and curse. When you contribute to your Roth IRA, when you invest wisely, when you avoid the mistakes I've outlined, you are choosing life. You are choosing blessing. You are choosing freedom. So choose wisely, my friends. Choose life. Choose your future. Choose the Roth IRA. Shalom. And may you be blessed with the wisdom to invest in your future and the discipline to let it grow into the tree of abundance you deserve.